4, 3, 2, 1.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point you realize you married into crazy. And that's what our show is all about. If your marriage or relationship is compassionate, real, accountable, zealous and yielding, or just plain crazy, Snooks and Lovey offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as they unpack this thing called marriage. Sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
Welcome back to another episode of the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey.
I'm Snooks.
And I'm Lovey. And we want to thank you for coming back once again, because you could be doing a lot of other things, but you've chosen to hang out with us. For those of you that are new to the podcast, that have been invited by a friend, welcome. We are a couple that have been married for 28 plus years. Mm-hmm. And we've been through some things. Mm-hmm. From the very beginning, when we first met each other, it was on a blind date.
It wasn't a date.
She always says that. It was more.
It wasn't a date. When you go on a date, you agree to go, right? Even if it's a blind date, you set a time, you set a place, you agree. It wasn't a date. So it was a blind bamboozle.
She could smile when she says it, right? She gets so angry.
I'm not angry.
She's like, because it wasn't a date. It wasn't a date.
I'm just thoroughly letting them know.
We were bamboozled. We were tricked into
Yeah.
meeting each other.
Mm-hmm.
And she told everybody that I was a nerd and not her type.
I did tell my family that.
Yes, she did. 4 months later, we were engaged.
We were.
Nerds got game. I'm just saying. But unfortunately, 5 days after we got engaged, she had an estranged ex-boyfriend that forced entry into her home while I was there, and he attacked her. And I had to protect her. And so in doing so, I was stabbed through the heart with a serrated steak knife.
Mm-hmm. 2 open heart surgeries later.
Did you get the part about it going through my heart?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it went all the way through. And so life-saving procedures, 2 open heart surgeries, like she said.
And then 7 months later, we were married. We got married. Mm-hmm.
Can you say it with like a little joy? I mean, she's all like, and then we got married, and
do you
like
want to do this by yourself?
I'm just saying.
I'm just asking. Good grief. Don't voice shame me.
I'm just saying.
Don't tone shame me.
Tone shame.
Whatever. Anyway, so 4 years after our anniversary, our wedding, on our 4-year anniversary, I told him I wanted a divorce.
Kind of like the voice she was using earlier. Just.
It's the same voice.
Matter of fact, no. But she did. It was
That's
our
why.
4-year anniversary. 4-year anniversary at dinner at Morton's, of all places, expensive restaurant. She asked for a divorce.
I didn't ask. I told you I wanted a divorce.
She demanded.
I didn't demand. I just said I wanted a divorce.
And I was completely
obviously
oblivious.
We didn't get divorced, right? Because he said 28 plus years. So there were no breaks.
I emphasized the plus. I emphasized the plus. No, but it's one of those things. We went through some challenges. We went through that. We made it, right? Along the way, we learned a few things. We had people that poured into us. We had coaches. We had counseling. But ultimately, we didn't really find the things that we absolutely needed in that moment. Mm-hmm. But as we went on our journey, like many of you may be in your journey right now, we did discover that we found our way.
So kind of, I mean, it goes without saying, that's one thing that we talk about, is Married into Crazy was actually born through that experience. Crazy is an acronym. It stands for compassionate, real, accountable, zealous, and yielding. So, and that's one thing that we talk about all couples need to have more of. They should have more of. You can always be more compassionate. You can always be more real. You can be more accountable, stay zealous, and be more yielding.
I'm still working on the yielding part.
He is. I'm still, yeah. I'm not losing hope, though. I'm keeping hope alive that he'll get it.
I'm hoping she'll lead by example.
Whatever.
No, but that's something that we work on, right? And so we share that through our coaching platform. We share that on our website. Go and visit marriedintocrazy.com. Mm-hmm. Look at all the different ways that we pour into relationships, into marriage. And be sure to check out the Married Into Crazy app. You can take coaching on the go with you no matter where you're at. You can see the variety of things that we do through the platform, through our website, as well as our app. And through the app, you actually have an in-app curriculum that allows you to do certain things. And there's different levels of coaching. It's not just our couple to couple. There's so many other things that we offer as well. Mm-hmm. So be sure to go to the website to see all the different things we do. And importantly, right now, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and let's keep it moving. Today,
this month, today is the first month in May, right?
First month in May?
I mean, first podcast that we're doing in the month of May, right?
Correct.
First Wednesday of May. And this month, I think we said it before. Did we say it before?
I think we announced that we're going to do something coming up, but it's Sexual Education Awareness Month.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about sex.
Let's talk about sex, baby.
I was thinking just that. I should have had it on my phone ready to play. All month, all we're talking about is sex. Nothing but sex. Sex.
Talking about the nitty-gritty.
Sex.
The nitty-gritty. We're going to get into it. Right, so after this week, we have a lot of guests that are coming on. Mm-hmm. We have some amazing subject matter experts that are coming up. But right now, we're going to talk about navigating sexual changes throughout your relationship. We said we've been through some things, mm-hmm. but we want to get into, not just for those individuals that have been, and for those of you that have been married 5 years or less, you're kind of still in that honeymoon phase to a certain extent. And that's great.
So we're not honeymooning anymore?
Oh, we honeymooning to a certain extent. We rediscovered it. Like you see me stuttering, right? Like, no, wait.
Yeah, get it right. Get it together.
No, but when you've been together for a long time, relationships have a tendency to lose the novelty, particularly when it comes to your sex life, because life gets in the way. There's so many things that actually end up happening: kids, job, moving, house, bills, everything else. And it seems like every time something comes up, sex has a tendency to fall by the wayside or to the bottom of the pecking order. Not because you don't enjoy it, but because I think a lot of it has to do with stress. And let's just be honest, if there's stress involved, like when you were in school, going for your master's program, sex went way down to the bottom of the pecking order.
I was like, bruh, don't even look at me. No, I'm playing.
She ain't lying.
I wasn't that bad.
She was that bad.
I was not that.
She was that bad.
Really?
I'm just being honest.
Wow.
But because I mean, she was up till 2, 3 in the morning, mm-hmm. actually studying.
I wasn't
and doing
that
papers.
bad though, y'all. Good Lord.
And I'm going to bed like, don't even think about waking me.
See, I'm trying to get
my REM sleep.
I was trying to get it in, and he wanted to be REM sleeping.
She wasn't trying to get it in because by the time she came to bed, she was like,
you
out.
can still. I was like, hey, let's go.
She gonna do that to a man that's comatose.
No, there are times Lovey looked over at me like, shh, I know you ain't trying to.
Don't make me ask for a divorce.
Whatever. So, kind of back to your point. Excuse me. There are different things that affect our sex lives, like you said, parenting, moving, aging, menopause. Just even physical changes that affect how you feel about yourself. Because how you feel about yourself will have something to do with your desire to have sex.
Absolutely. Look, I'm gonna tell you now, fellas, ladies, if you haven't figured out, throughout time, gravity is the undisputed champion. We can do all the things that we want to do, and you can hold it off for as long as you want, but gravity will win. Things will sag, skin will sag, the muscles will fade to a certain extent, and you just got to get over it and recognize that there's beauty in all of our glory, in all the different ways. So I can't expect myself to look like, that super muscular guy that was around, in my late 20s. No. Do I work out? Yes. Do I do certain things? But my body's changed. But so has my spouse's. And I can't sit there and push expectations upon her. I need you to come in looking like XYZ when gravity's affected me a certain way, but expect it to actually not have any effect on my spouse.
Well, I mean, for myself though, I look at myself and I'm like, because there are times when I'm like, don't grab my fat. I don't like that.
I don't like to play with it. I like to be like,
I'm like, don't grab my fat. I don't do that. But he is like, that's part of you. I love you. That makes me feel a little bit better. But there are times where I feel subconscious about how I look. So I'm like, don't touch me, because I don't feel sexy, and I like to feel sexy.
And I like that song. I like the wiggle wiggle. I like a jiggle jiggle.
What song is that?
Oh no, I just made it up.
This is what I deal with
Every day.
So, it's just about, I feel like being able to communicate.
It's huge.
You
have to talk to each other through these things. And we're not telling you anything you don't already know, but you have the maturity to do it on a consistent basis. Mm-hmm. This isn't a one and done.
No. So this is kind of funny. It's not funny, but it's like, okay, so we're aging, right? And I'm going through menopause right now.
She's older than me.
I am older than him. I'm going through menopause right now. So things change when you're going through menopause. And there are things that I'm like, what the heck? I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't expecting it. And when that happens, I had to be open and honest with him and like, hey, this is happening, this changed, I don't like that, blah, 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 whatever. But the space had to be safe enough for me to feel comfortable to say that. That's why we talk about, you have to communicate, but to the other person that you're communicating to, make sure that you're making the space safe. Because if I don't feel like it's safe for me to tell you, I'm not going to say anything,
I think that's real. And let me put it through something. She's not going through menopause by herself.
Yeah, we're going through menopause.
We are going through menopause.
Yeah.
Now, I don't get the hot flashes.
I don't get hot flashes either.
But it's one of those things that if your spouse is going through something, if you're truly in this together, then you're also going through it as well. Mm-hmm. If somebody's going through stress or depression, though they may be feeling the truest or the acute, immediate impact of whatever is going on, there's a residual that's happening as well. Mm-hmm. And you have to recognize that there's some responsibility, there's some burden to carry as the spouse of the individual that's having the physical or the mental challenge that's going on. And you have to welcome that and recognize that it is your role to be support in those times.
I agree, because I always liken it to, like, if you were to get in a car accident, or and you weren't able to have sex anymore, would I leave you because you weren't able to physically perform? It's like, no, I wouldn't do that. So it should be the same mindset when we're talking about the physical changes in our bodies. We can't do some of the things that we used to do, could do, like early 20s, early 30s, early 40s, there are things that change, and okay, well, we just got to make the adjustment. We got to pivot, you know what I'm saying? But those changes at times, they bring anxiety, they bring stress, because you may not know how your partner is going to, I won't say welcome that, but how they're going to act with that. Nothing could be more disheartening to walk out of the bathroom with my towel around me, or I'm drying off or something, and love you come in and be like, ooh, and like, I say grab my fat, but not in a nice way, like he be trying to, but like hit it and be like, you need to get rid of that, or your legs are saggy or something like that. That would destroy me if that was to ever happen. And I'm sure that would be the same thing for any other person in a relationship.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. We're not talking about giving up on intimacy in any way, shape, or form. What we have to do is we have to adapt. Snook said pivot. It's the same thing. Pivot, adapting, and finding new and different ways to redefine what that intimacy is going to look and feel like. Mm-hmm. Because when you talk about menopause, things change. There's vaginal dryness. There's pain in certain positions. And let's be honest, guys. I mean, there's a thing called erectile dysfunction. There's ED that sets in for men after a certain time. There's venous arterial leakage that takes place, where men don't get the erections that they used to. They might get it, but it doesn't last as long, because just as quickly as the blood comes in, the blood leaves. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things that affects all men to varying degrees. Some are more dramatic than others, but this is a a telltale sign as you age. Does it need to be that way? We need to stick around because we have some people that are coming up in the next several weeks that are going to address these very things. We have Harvard-trained physicians that are going to be coming on talking about these very things. We have sexologists that are going to be coming on talking about these things. We have an individual that is an intimacy advisor to millions of people that actually talks with celebrities about how to improve their sexual lives as well.
Mm-hmm.
Go
ahead.
No, and so so it doesn't just happen to you. It's happening to so many individuals. But that's what this month is about. It's about kind of like erasing that line that's been drawn in the sand, saying, well, if it don't work like the way it used to, then it must be over. Erase that line that you drew in the sand. And let's redraw some lines. Let's say, hey, you know what? What I've known to be in the past, the way that we've operated might be different. So let's create some new, I don't call them boundaries, but let's create some new parameters through which we're going to define our intimacy in this season. It may change again, but let's be open to always redefining our intimacy.
You know, it's when you just said that about drawing the line in the sand, that brought back a memory for me, like, oh, drawing the line in the sand, it must be over. Brought back a memory. I worked with someone when I was at the prison, one of the ladies, and I don't know how we got on this subject, but somebody said something about like a wild weekend and, getting some or whatever. And she said, oh no, she goes, no, I don't do that anymore. And we kind of was like, you don't do that anymore. And she goes, no, I'm in menopause, so I don't do that anymore. I was like, wow. Oh, okay. But that just made me think about that. So her reasoning is because she's in menopause, probably because she's experiencing, or she had experienced some of the things that, you talked about, the pain, the physical changes and everything. I don't know if her husband, maybe he wasn't as compassionate or whatever. I don't know, but it's like, yeah, you don't have to be that individual if you enjoy sex. You don't have to be that you can continue on having sex, and that's what this month is about. But, menopause is not the only thing. I know we're talking about menopause and aging because we're a little bit older, but, parenthood. And it's funny because we're back into that parenthood type of thing. We had to be like MacGyver back in the day. Remember those days?
You're in the middle of somebody bumps in, you got to jump off like, hey, what's going on?
What's happening right now? So,
you want to talk about erectile dysfunction. What was the original ED? Yeah, your children
coming in the room.
Your children was the original erectile dysfunction. It's like, dang,
That's so funny. So, most of you, the listeners, you guys know that we're raising our grandson, our 5-year-old. So he's 5-year-old. I'm sorry. So now it's almost like we're back into that space again. It's like, oh, did you lock the door? Like, oh, well, we want to leave it cracked just in case we hear him. But every noise is like, wait. So
yeah, it's like Pac-Man. Bonk, bonk. As soon as we hear something, it's like,
right. Can't sleep how I want to sleep anymore because
this dude
he might come in the room. I
wake up,
climb in the middle of the bed and be like, where's my pillow at? So, I understand that there are things where you have to be strategic, and that's where another place where it's so important to communicate, because be like, look, we got these kids. How are we going to maintain the intimacy? What alternatives are there? You really do have to find a way to keep that love life going, because you're tired. Working all day, dealing with the kids, cooking dinner, coming home, doing all the other things that you have to do. And I'm speaking from the female perspective. And then when your husband comes home or he goes to bed and you go to bed, you're dead tired. And here, you feel the rubbing on your butt.
Tap.
Right. And you're like, I'm exhausted. And if you don't have that open communication, he might start feeling some kind of way about Well, why are you always tired? Why blah, 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 whatever. And then it just becomes about sex only,
So true. And you have to be able to, both of you should think about emphasizing self-compassion and empathy for the other one. The C in crazy is being compassionate, but put yourself in the other person's shoes. Yes, you may be a 2-income household and be thinking about, well, I work too. I'm tired when I come home too. And
amen.
But it's one of those things we have to think about. Okay, well, you're both going through it. You still have desires, but always think about the other person. What are they going through? There might be additional anxieties. And just because you're feeling a certain way doesn't mean the other person's feeling the exact same way. We deal with stressors very differently. And we have to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
Right? And then focus on adapting and finding alternatives.
Yeah.
Every now and then, look, this is the first month that 2 of these episodes that are coming up are explicit, needing parental advisory. Right. But I'm going to tell you right now that some of the alternatives that you need to come up with, maybe it's not going to be full-on intercourse or the intimacy level that you want. And I'm not saying mercy sex, but maybe it's going to require some other type of stimulation that needs to take place, as a placeholder, if you will, recognizing like, I see you and I want to be intimate, but this is all I have to give right now.
Right. And that's the thing about I see you. I think that's so important to be seen, because one of the things, using the overworked, overtired wife as an example, the husband, instead of getting upset, okay, how can I help you so that you won't be so overwhelmed? Because then when I'm not so overwhelmed, I have energy for other things. So it becomes a win-win situation. The alternative could be, okay, well, I'll do this and you do that, and blah, 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 whatever, however your home works, taking on additional chores or whatever, helping with the kids more, cooking dinner. When she cooks, you clean, whatever, but something that is going to, and it could be the man that does everything too. So just something that you can help alleviate some of the stress, and they'll have more time to enjoy.
Right. And you know what? There's something to be said about if you watch any of these television shows that are out there. I don't get to watch a lot of TV, but I know that I've seen on multiple occasions that a woman somebody's written in the script that a woman sees a man as being most sexy when he's helping out around the house. That's come up time and time and time again in movies, in scripts. And I guarantee it's probably a female writer on staff that wrote that in. And she's representing a potential mindset for a lot of women out there. It's like, look, I'm carrying all of this workload, all this burden, and it's kind of sexy to see my husband actually pick up some of the slack in that area, to take some of that away from me. Because then, like you said, now I've got some of the battery, if you will. I'm not exhausted at the end of the night because you picked up some of that, and now I have energy to do other things. And I'm not just saying it's about the sex. Sometimes the intimacy is just about having that conversation, to be heard, to be seen, to be in a mindset to where, now I'm open to going out on a date night because I might just be too tired. I don't want to leave the house because I'm exhausted. Yeah, and I can see, and I know, we coach people. We know for a fact that the conversation takes place from time to time that I'm just not in the mood. I don't want to go anywhere because I'm so exhausted. I just don't have time. Then it's, I'm trying to do a date night and do those other things. But it's like one date night doesn't make up for months and months and months of neglect.
From a woman's perspective, especially because we women will let you know, it's not just about you got to start making love to me in the morning. We kind of laughed at, we went to a retreat, and the women got together, and we're just very candid. You have sex on Saturday, okay, come Sunday morning, all right, start making love to me during the day again, mentally.
Yep, it's like foreplay begins on Sunday.
Yeah,
if you want to have sex the following Saturday. No, and it's so funny that she says that because she didn't know this, but over in the men's group that we were together in, that's what we were talking about.
Oh, okay.
The men were like, the guys that were considered the elders or the ones that were leading the discussion were saying that it begins on Sunday. If you want to have sex on Saturday, come Friday, Saturday night, you want to have that weekend fun, it starts the previous Sunday.
So it's not just the whole come rub my booty,
Well, I'm going to try that too.
I like that.
I'm not going to give up on that.
I like that.
I'm going to get a little bit of that in as well. But those are the things, so you got to start relieving the stress, anxiety, all those things up ahead of time. But look, we were talking about how the month of May is sexual education awareness. What are you doing to increase your level of education and awareness? I'm not saying go out and look at pornographic books, or I'm not even condoning pornographic books or magazines or movies. What I am saying is that there are educational books. There are erotic movies that you and your spouse can watch that's not pornographic per se, but something that that actually teaches. There's like the Better Sex series that's out there showing different methods. Because if you think it's so vanilla, boring, sex is so boring, it's like maybe you stopped thinking of novelty in different ways. To watch tasteful things to where it's not being pornographic, quite honestly. And do you understand your anatomy? And I know this sounds really bad. I mean, there's a lot of adults walking around right now that I know what my penis does. Oh, I know what my vagina does. But do you really know how it operates? Mm-hmm. Do you really understand the manner in which, like, how to truly, the amount of pleasure that it can provide and receive, and the different ways that it can be stimulated?
Well, not just, we always focus the attention on the genital areas. There are spots on your body all over.
Erogenous zones.
Yeah, exactly. So learning about your body is probably key. You knowing what you like and being able to share that information with your partner. You have to feel free and open to say, oh, I like this, or, this is what I want. For a lot of, we talked before, a lot of sex is taboo. To talk about sex is like taboo, even though we all got here because of sex. Nobody was born without it except for Jesus. So, being able to be free and open. If this is my partner, I should be able to talk to my partner about what I like and what I don't like. And if there's an issue or challenge with that, then there needs to be a conversation about why is there an issue or challenge. But start learning your body and figuring out what it is that you like. Find those zones and share that.
Absolutely. And again, we're not talking about pornography, but we are talking about discovery, self-discovery. You're going to see a sexologist that's going to talk about, like, what, if you rub your arm, do you know what that feels like? Do you know, if you rub your top of your scalp, do you know what that feels like? You should be able to understand all the sensations of your body, including those of your genitals, to understand exactly what certain things feel like, what you like and what you don't like, and to be able to articulate that to your spouse. Because if you don't know what you like, how in the world would you expect your spouse to know? And every person is different. Mm-hmm. Just because your spouse may have been, let's say, worldly, or may have been with X amount of partners in the past, all those individuals that you may have been with or that they may have been with, those are different individuals. Mm-hmm. They all like different things.
That's true.
In order for you and your spouse to know each other, you have to be able to talk to each other and share what you do and you don't like. And just because you may not like something doesn't mean that you don't like the individual. It's just that particular method you didn't particularly care for. And it might have been, I didn't like the upstroke, but I did like the downstroke. Or I didn't like it sideways, but I liked it the other way. Or I like this. Oh, that was interesting. I don't know. There was something about that was kind of cool, but I'm not quite sure how I felt about that. We need to probably do that a little bit more to figure it out. But being open enough and feeling safe enough to have those conversations is what sexual education is about. Discovering yourself and having conversations with your spouse. And while you're having those intimate moments, to be able to give a feedback, provide a feedback loop. Because there's nothing worse than having, being in the middle of sex and then not getting a feedback loop to know if what I'm doing is working. I'm like, is it? Is it not? I mean, I used to always joke about, what was that movie with, it It was old.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Tommy Davidson was in it. It
Strictly Business.
Strictly Business. Up, left, to the right, to the left, harder, faster, no, slower, no, what are you doing? Move, no, up. Like that. I'm not saying like that, but there needs to be a feedback loop to where you can actually converse with each other. But that comes with, and that starts on Sunday night, being able to have a conversation, talking with each other, talking about the likes, the dislikes. Oh, it would be nice if we tried this. Or have you ever thought about this? And, I liked it when you did this, or I love it when you nibble on my ear. This, all these little things. And then it kind of reaches a peak when it comes to Friday and Saturday. And then you reach that. But it doesn't just show up.
Well, also setting the tone, like the mood in the room. What is that looking like?
Like bringing flowers home for your wife.
It's not supposed to be transactional.
It's not transactional.
You bring them home for it.
No.
Okay.
Setting the mood, setting the tone.
But yeah, I'm talking about for like the room too. Look, what did Donna say? Blue light.
Oh.
But soft music, maybe some rose petals, and maybe you're not into that, but something that speaks to your romance, because that's important. What would you like to happen? What would you like to see? So make sure you set that tone
and focus on sexuality beyond intercourse. One thing I would love to challenge everyone to do is to have an intimate evening without intercourse. Now, if you get there, okay, I'm like, I don't know if I have that kind of control. And you guys both be like, But maybe start off. If it ends there, that's great. But
let's start with the intent
to not go there, but just to be sensual. Might start with a foot massage and then, calf, and just stroking, just playing, doing different things, playing with each other as far as discovering each other's body. It's like, oh, you know what? I never really noticed this little spot in the back of your knee. And just talking with each other and playing with each other and taking your time, and just discovering each other, and then basking in that moment for the evening. Spend a few hours doing that.
Yeah, that's real awareness.
That's making love.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the term making love has become synonymous with just having sex. And that's not what it is. It's not what it's supposed to be. Making love is supposed to be about a journey, not a destination.
That's true.
And that is going to be our message for kicking off Sexual Education Awareness Month. We have some other information that's in the Married into Crazy newsletter. If you haven't subscribed to the newsletter, every single month we send out something that is new, that is different, with some recommended resources. It's not just ours. There's things that we've discovered that have been recommended by experts. We try and make those available through the newsletter, point you in a direction so you can get those resources. There's articles that we point to, and of course, we point out certain episodes from our podcast, but we try and keep you in the know. And we only do it once a month. We don't flood your email box with it. But go over to marriedintocrazy.com, and you can subscribe to the Married into Crazy newsletter if you haven't already done so. Keep coming back, because in the upcoming weeks, we're going to have Mrs. Mavis McKnight, who is a sexologist and a pastor's wife.
Yes.
She's coming up next week. And then we have Harvard-trained physician, Dr. Elliot Justin, who has an incredible company called FirmTech that goes into some specific wearables that you should learn about as well. And then we have the incomparable Susan Bratton, who is the intimacy advisor to millions, including celebrities around the world. And she's going to be going in talking about how to really raise the bar when it comes to your intimacy. So it's a star-studded, information-packed month here with our subject matter experts. We're excited, and the intent is to make sure you get excited and learn a few things along the way.
Exactly.
So we hope you have a great time this month. Tell a friend to make sure they're tuning in. Share this episode. Share the upcoming episodes. Make sure you subscribe and have other people do the same. And until the next time,
be blessed.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. Please like, subscribe to, and review the show wherever you access it, and tell a friend about us. Visit marriedintocrazy.com and see how Snooks and Lovey can bless your marriage directly.